Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TechFest seminar, Engaging Students Through Instagram. May I present our speakers for today, Hannah Allison and Alinka Turkin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Dan, for your introduction. It's really good to have you with us. Today, we're going to talk to you a little bit about engaging students through Instagram. My name's Hannah. I'm a careers advisor at Lancaster University. I've worked in the sector for about 5 years, and I'm currently doing my qualification. I'm doing an apprenticeship. Alinka?
Yes, and I'm Alinka, and I'm a marketing and admin assistant at Lancaster University Careers, and a recent graduate in advertising and marketing.
So it's really great to have you with us today. I'm really interested just to know if you could put in the chat what kind of sector or institution, organisation you work for, if you work in schools, if you work in FE or HE, things like that, just so we know kind of where we're aiming our group towards. It'd be really great. So a little bit about us. So I joined the team a few years ago, and I knew that for students looking at marketing with higher education students that we work for, Instagram was more used than any other social media platform. So I joined the team and thought, okay, we need to do something about this with a little bit of a marketing brain. So I thought, right, let's have a look at Instagram, have a look at how we can engage students a little bit more. I am definitely no marketing expert at all. I have probably a little bit of an eye for colour, maybe. I have a good attention to detail. But other than that, I'm definitely no marketing expert. So today, I'm going to try and share some of the things that I did to get us started with the kind of careers brain that probably you all will have as well. And kind of, I did that with a little bit of support from some other people. And then last summer, Alinka joined the team and she brought so many fresh new ideas to our channel. So Alinka, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing now?
Yes, so with almost 5 years of experience in graphic design and social media, since I joined, I tried to work on helping Lancaster Careers use the full range of media available on our social channels. So we're still working on it, but ultimately we are looking at engaging students through optimizing a lot of our posts to kind of suit their needs and preferences, on using interactive stories, on centralizing the highlights on our Instagram account, and introducing new kinds of content like Instagram guides or IGTV. So feel free to follow us and have a look at what we're doing while we talk you through how we engage students.
Absolutely. We're going to go through this quite quickly because we've got quite a lot to cover and there's so much that you can do on Instagram. So we're going to talk about things quickly, but if you want more information, absolutely have a look at us on social media. Feel free to follow us, but equally you can just look at us without doing that as well. Great. It's really interesting to see what kind of organizations you're coming from. This is really nice. So thanks so much for your comments in the chat box. And equally, if you have any questions as we go through, feel free to put them in the chat box. We're going to have a little bit of time at the end for questions, but just add them in as we go through, and we're happy to answer them potentially as we go through or potentially at the end. So getting started. Obviously, we want you to get started using Instagram. We found it super useful. So we really want to encourage you to have a look at how you can get started using Instagram. So firstly, have a think about what your username is going to be. For us, we chose Lancs Careers because obviously Lancaster University Careers team. But equally, we did have a look at LU Futures, Lancaster University Futures. You could also kind of have Lancaster High Careers if you're a school or something like that. Just think about what's going to be identifiable, but also something that you can really easily say. So for us, we promote our Instagram page in all our interactions. So really easy to be saying, followers at Lancs Careers. If you say something that's a little bit long, then it's kind of going to get lost. Or if it's lots of letters that you have to be like IA, something, 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 whatever, then it's a little bit more complicated for people to follow. The second thing that I would say about getting started is list your account as a business account and put it as education. if you do it, and try and make it a business account, because it'll change some of your settings, it'll give you more insights, which we're going to talk about later. It'll just open up loads of extra possibilities as a business account as opposed to a personal account, which I'm sure some of you will have. We've already had a comment in the chat box about annoying that you can't put live links into posts. We found that really annoying, and actually this is something that a linker brought to us because we found it really annoying that you couldn't put live links in. We now have a link tree. If you just Google link tree, it'll come up, which is a link in your bio. So instead of putting the link in the text as you would do in Facebook or Twitter or whatever, you can just put something like link in bio. You've probably seen it on some of the Instagram pages if you follow anyone else. And you can go to the bio, click the link, and you can update some links that are relevant to the post that you're using. We use Linktree. There are other things out there, but we find Linktree is a good one. So have that link in your bio. The other thing that I'd really recommend when you're getting started is to think a little bit about your branding. So branding, it's a marketing term. It can be a little bit scary for us as careers advisors, as non-marketing specialists. But for me, when I was starting, I found this really useful just to have a branding guide to think about the logo that we use, the colours, the fonts, the tone, just so that when people were looking at our page, they could kind of see, okay, this is something to do with Lancaster Careers, whether that's a logo or certain colours. We were actually really lucky in that our institution has a branding guideline. They have specific colours. You can see all the arrows that come through our presentation. These are all part of the branding of our university. So think about what your branding is going to be. Pastels are very in at the moment as a colour. Try to avoid really bright colours. You can see ours are kind of pastel-y, but that's just a little tip for you. Also think about your tone of voice. So for us as a team, we try and be casual and encouraging, as well as signposting, and we have a kind of soft welfare side to it as well, especially during the pandemic. For us, that's what works for us. That might not be appropriate for your clients or your style of service. If you're working in a school or with younger students, that might not be appropriate to be as casual. You might want to be a bit more formal. But think about, what is your tone of voice? What is the overall message that you're trying to get across to your students or your clients? And then I think this is one of my biggest tips for you, is follow similar accounts for some inspiration. When you're getting started, this is exactly what I followed. Pretty much all the other institutions, the higher education institutions that had Instagram pages at that time, and have a look at their kind of content for inspiration. That really, really helped me. I see someone and think, oh, that's a really good idea. Let's do something similar in ours. And then finally, start sharing that content. What is the content that you want to share? So in order to start thinking about this a little bit further, I just want you to think about, what kind of content do you like to see on social media, whether that's Instagram or whatever social media platform you use. And I'd really love it if you could go to Mentimeter on your phone or on your laptop or whatever device you're on, and type in the code 65782495. And I'm just going to switch my screens, hopefully across, so you can see it. Okay, the code should be at the top again. The code's at the top here. So what kind of things do you like to see on social media? For me, I love to see that kind of encouraging content. I like the kind of Monday motivations and things like that. Some people love seeing like cat videos. I don't know. What are the kind of things that you like to see on social media? The code is 65782495. It's at the top of the screen, hopefully, yeah. And I can add it to the chat as well. Oh, thanks, Sam. Great. So lots of you like to see pictures and information graphics, scenery, absolutely. Yeah, I like the light-hearted. I like light-hearted things. I can't do with things that are a little bit too complicated for me. Great. So these are really interesting things. Engaging content, videos, pictures, hints and tips, absolutely. One of the things that's coming out really strongly here is the imagery stuff. It's really interesting and being eye-catching, being inspiring. Oh, I love that inspiration. Cartoons, information but visually appealing. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love those before and afters. Those like tap to tidies. I love those. Probably not relevant for Instagram for careers, but I do love those. Great. It's really interesting to see some of this stuff that you are. Cats, yes, of course, the cat videos. Great. And what's really interesting to see through all of this is how this is then going to help you think about what you're going to post on social media. So the chances are that your posts that are going to be popular are likely to be posts with pictures, posts with information, posts that are light-hearted or inspirational or information updates, things like that, some how-to videos, some light-hearted, fun things, as well as infographics and stuff. So hopefully that's going to help you think, okay, this is the kind of thing that I want to post on social media. So I'm just going to switch back. Hopefully this is going to work. Yes. Great. So this is the kind of content that we post on our Instagram page. Now, obviously, this is really dependent on your tone. So for us, our tone is being relatable for students. So we like this kind of tone that's kind of fun, it's colourful, you can see some of the information on here. So one of the really popular things that we do is we do a weekly Monday motivation. So you can see this dog picture. We really like that. Monday motivation, that's really popular. We also advertise things that are important to us, so like surveys, events, other things that we've got. So we've got a podcast and a blog and all those kind of other media platforms that you use. We promote things on that. We also promote other people's things. So Leonard Cheshire is another organisation that do internships. We promote things like that. And we also really want to kind of humanize the careers service and the careers team. So you can see that top right image is just members of the careers team saying Happy Christmas. We did like a congratulations one at our graduation period. But really for us, it's about humanizing us and just making us seem like normal people. That might sound really obvious, but for our students that we work with, I think sometimes, especially in higher education, it's seen as like the careers team is this like unknown entity that people could get help from. They're not really sure what we're about. It's a bit unknown. And especially during the pandemic when we're meeting online as well. And we're still online as an institution. It's just really important, we found, to it's kind of humanize us and relate back to that tone of voice. Our tone of voice is casual, encouraging, signposting, and soft welfare. And hopefully you can see that through the content that we post. So these are just our normal posts that would appear on the kind of normal newsfeed as you would do if you're using Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever.
So I think it's great that some of you mentioned videos or how to or before and afters, because usually nowadays Instagram and a lot of other social medias have moved beyond just a singular square image. So they're enabling us as creators to kind of engage with our audiences in different forms. So now that Instagram allows images, video, text, stories, it's really interesting to kind of work on engaging with students in as many creative ways as possible, just because people have different sort of preferences and maybe not everyone likes just the classic square images. So besides the fact that now you can post 10 slides in a post, so you can kind of create visual guides that people can scroll through, you can engage your audience with videos. You can post either longer videos like webinars or advice, or just in general videos that you make, but also shorter videos, kind of the TikTok style 30-second videos called Instagram Reels, which is a great opportunity to engage maybe with a younger audience that doesn't want to read posts anymore. The second one We are working on making some guides for our students. They're called Instagram guides, and you can put text and you can reference other pages or other posts. And at the moment, we have posted one on how students can diversify their job hunt, where we kind of make references to different job boards, as well as on how they can gain points for our employability award. Just kind of like a reference guide that they can check whenever they need that extra bit of information. And ultimately, stories a wildly and beautifully engaging medium that Hannah will talk more about.
Yeah, thank you. So I think one of my favorite things that we've done as development for the Instagram is utilize the stories. So we've really found that students engage well with the stories that appear at the top of your page. So we share quite a lot of stuff on here. We definitely share more content on here than we do on our newsfeed. And we probably have something up every day, maybe, Alinka? Most days we will have something on here, as opposed to we don't post every single day. And really, this is where we have used the most engagement, the most user engagement. So we do things like just share other people's posts. So the first one is just Student Circus, which is an organisation that higher education students use. We're just promoting some information about this new work post-study visa, because that's a really important thing. But also we've been using this a little bit further to do some more student engagement. So I think definitely my favourite thing that we've done, both with myself and with Alinka, is our this or that. So we have themed this or that questions. So you can see one on there. I think we did this one for Halloween, which was trick or treat. Oh man, I can't say it. Trick or treat. We've got one coming up on April Fool's Day that's fact or fool. We did one at Christmas. What was that? Naughty or nice. They're just basically ways to engage with students. And we've really found that students want to engage with this. They love just like a little clickbait kind of thing. So we've given them a statement for this. We've given them a statement and said, like, basically, is this true or is this false? And it's been great to kind of demystify some of those myths that students feel. So like, I don't know, a CV has to be one page. We would say a CV can be 2 pages in some instances, or kind of some of those fake newses that are going around. We find students like they get a rumor and just all the student body knows about something that someone's told them that's not actually true. So we've used this to kind of demystify some of those, but also it's been so interesting to see what students know and what they don't know. So like for me, this is such an obvious one. You should talk about your skills on your CV. We as careers advisors know you should talk about your skills on your CV. But 22% of the people that responded thought, no point in talking about my skills on my CV. Like, that baffles me. But actually, what this has helped us do is think, okay, well, if 22% of our students don't think you should talk about skills on your CV, then what can we do to aid that? What can we do to kind of give more information on that, both through our content that we deliver and other things like that as well? So we found that that's been really good for breaking down those misconceptions and also doing a bit of market research as well. We also have done a Q&A. So it's just one of the tools that you can use. All of these are tools that you can use on the story. I would recommend exploring the kind of story tools. Set up your own account. This is what we did when we first started. Just set up a random account with no followers, or just followers from within the careers team, and just play around with it, see what works, see what doesn't work. But one of the things that worked for us is our Q&A. So we did weekly Q&As every Wednesday, just saying like, ask us something, ask us anything that you want to ask us about careers. These were really popular. So then we went and did specific themed ones. So we did like a week on CVs, a week on cover letters, a week on interviews. You get the idea. This was good because it actually answered questions that students had. That was really important, to answer those students' questions. But also, a lot of people didn't ask questions, but they still saw the answers. So they might not think that they might not feel like, yeah, I'm going to engage and I'm going to ask a question, but they still read the information. And we kind of worked on the basis that if a student is going to ask the question, then it's probably going to be relevant to another student that might be looking at this. So they might ask something like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a question like, how should I answer the question at the end that says, have you got any questions for us? Like that might be a specific need for one student, but actually all students are going to need the answer to that question. So that really worked well for us, looking at how we can kind of engage a little bit more with students. That's a little bit, I think sometimes students that we work with are a little bit anxious to come and see us, but this is a way just to build up that trust a little bit further when we're engaging with them, so that then we can say like, actually, you might be better coming to see a careers advisor. It's kind of that thing, I don't know if you're like me, I love to use chat boxes online if I'm talking to like, I don't know, NPower or someone. I don't want to ring them up, but actually if you say, look, you're going to have to ring us up, then I'm like, okay, I'll ring you up. I'm a true millennial. I don't like calling people. The other thing that you can do on the stories is the Instagram highlights, so that you can see that at the top of the screen, the Instagram highlights. This has been really good for specific things that we've done. So at the moment, we've got like a COVID frequently asked questions one. If we've done specific events, we do a really great event in normal times where we take students to London and Manchester to look at some companies and students who might not have been to London or Manchester before. And to explore some of the kind of widening horizons stuff. But you can still see those story highlights. So we can still refer people to the highlights of that trip, as well as like frequently asked questions and stuff, and student takeovers. These have been really good for engaging students in our work and what we've done, which is really great. So when you're thinking about posting, these are kind of the best ways that I would say when you're getting started without that marketing brain. Like Alinka does amazing things with Photoshop and stuff. For me, I don't have that brain. So I really like Canva. I use Canva. You can also use Adobe Spark if you have the Adobe package. Canva is free online. And basically these two software packages that you can use are just templates. So you can say, okay, I want to do something on Easter. Search Easter and it brings up a load of posts, a load of designs that you can edit the text, edit the colors, add your logo, whatever. And it makes it really easy to design some stuff that looks good. Like it looks all right. Obviously, we're not marketing specialists, so we just need it to look good enough and make it look, as well as you can and popular for students' engagement. So I'd really recommend using Canva, or if you've got the Adobe package, Adobe Spark's really nice as well.
For a couple more specialized free resources, not that difficult to use. For icons, you can go to the Noun project and to Flat Icon. They're all both free and you can customize colors. For photography, we've been using Unsplash and our own database of photography created by the university, which really helps. And for illustrations, I would recommend Blush. Now, a little bit about Blush, it's the great thing about it is that it's very, very customizable. You can change skin colors, you can change hairstyles, facial expressions, you can add a wheelchair or a prosthetic limb, you can change the clothes, you can change positions. It's really, really great for making the illustrations that you use or that you may want to use in your marketing be as inclusive and kind of as representative of your student body as possible.
Another software that we really like to use, I found this really useful when I was managing this alongside all my other stuff as a careers advisor, as I'm sure you know what it's like. I use scheduling, so I just scheduled maybe once a month all my posts to go through. You can do this through Hootsuite if you're using Instagram. Platforms like Facebook have their own scheduling thing, but for Instagram, we'd recommend using Hootsuite. Now, the only problem with this is you can't schedule stories, which is a bit frustrating. We haven't worked out a way around that necessarily, but yeah, Hootsuite is really good for scheduling your posts. It's also really nice because if you have multiple social media platforms, we have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can schedule everything together, which works really well if you want things going out on the same content, just on different days on different platforms. So I'd really recommend using Hootsuite. For me, I found it really useful because if I was every day waking up and thinking, oh no, what am I going to post on social media today? I found that quite stressful. Whereas when I worked out, actually, let's schedule, let's sit down and work out how to do this, I kind of got my creative juices flowing. I got into the zone of marketing and scheduling. And so I could kind of just post a little bit more regularly, without the kind of anxiety of waking up every day thinking, what am I going to post on that day? So I'd really recommend Hootsuite. So I know some of you in the chat box have been asking about how you kind of grow your account and how you grow your followers and things like that. These are some things that we looked at doing in the start when we were starting to grow our platform. So the first thing I would say is tag others. It might seem a little bit weird to start with, but actually tag other people. So that might be if your organization has, so like as an institution, a lot of different services have their own Instagram. So the departments like counselling and mental health have their own service, things like that. And also the kind of main university account. Tag other people, but also tag people that you're talking about. So if you're sharing a job, tag the organization that you're sharing the job of. Just tagging other people increases your views, increases how your content is seen as well. But also comment on those things. So use those other platforms to comment on it. Think about, where are your followers going to be? Where are they going to be looking at things? So comment on things, take part in discussions. If there's we have student news and student radio and student papers and all that kind of stuff. Student societies, comment on all those kind of things that are relevant, congratulating people, thanking people. We would comment on things being like, oh, this is a really great activity. Have you thought about using it for our employability award, for example? Suggesting things, promoting yourself, and that little bit more. It might seem a little bit fake when you're starting, but just kind of push through that. Obviously, don't do it too much. Don't be commenting on every single thing that you see, but just engage in a little bit more of that discussion and really use your institution's platform to promote yourself. So if your institution's sharing something, comment on it. That's if it's relevant to you. What is it that your institution's sharing? How can you promote yourself using it? Also, obviously, social media, think about your hashtags as well. So use those hashtags. So for example, as an institution, we use Love Lancaster, hashtag Love Lancaster, hashtag Love Lancaster, and have a think about what are your users using with hashtags. We also use wider hashtags like students, employability, careers, those kind of things. And we've actually found that using those hashtags, I would imagine, has meant that other people from other universities also follow our account. We don't just have Lancaster students on there, we also have other students, which is an interesting way of looking at it. I would also say, in terms of when you're growing, think about your accessible media. So make sure your media is accessible. You can find out more. We can send you a link about being more accessible, using kind of the alt text and making sure that your images are described underneath. If you've got information about an event in the image, then make sure you also include it in the text, just so that screen readers and things like that can read it. And also, I think this is the biggest way that we grew our platform, is promoting yourself. So in-person promotion, not online or whatever we're doing now. We're still online, but in your interactions, in your group sessions, in your one-to-ones, in every time that you speak to students, promote yourself. Say, you might be interested in following our social media platforms, or I'm trying to think of other ways that you do it. We have our Instagram and social media information at the end of all our presentations and workshops that we do as well. And we speak to students at the start of the year, new students, and we say follow us on social media for more information. So I'd really recommend promoting yourself that way.
A key aspect of growing and engaging with students is really building those communities. And I would say that you should start with kind of establishing what kind of community you want to have, because that's going to influence how your goals and your strategy are going to look like. And by that, I mean, kind of think, what role are you trying to play in your community? Are you trying to be an educator? Are you trying to be a teammate or a friend? Are you trying to be a signposter or an enabler? And I say that because because at Lancaster we've tried to be more welfare-y and motivational, and kind of signpost students, as opposed to maybe encouraging them to send us comments or liking their things. So it matters who you want to be in relation to your students, and because we try to establish this relationship with our students and our community, that feeds then into how we improve our services. We used Instagram stories to post question boxes to ask students, what do you want? What do you feel is lacking? And what do you feel would benefit you? So we've used those answers, as well as me and the way that I track opinions and likes and demands and trends on social media, to feed it to the wider team, to our managers, and say, this is what's happening. How do you think students' behaviors, both in person through appointments as well as online on social media, how do you think we can use this to improve the services that we offer? And then it ultimately leads me to how you can nurture professional communities, and how you can find inspiration in our wider community. As careers professionals, we work together as a sector and in our institutions as well, because we all want our students to succeed. So my tip for this point would be to collaborate with other departments, to collaborate with other teams in your institution, but also to kind of take what the competition is doing well and do it yourself, and engage with other competition as well. So I'll just give you an example. We've been inspired by Sheffield University to start doing videos. We've been inspired by Newcastle University to start posting jobs. And we like to think that we inspired others to use Q&As more. So I think it's really important to collaborate with others and to really follow and take what they're doing well and do it yourself, which leads me to the next slide on how the Instagram algorithm works. Because Instagram is very much based on relationship, on how students interact with you, how often, how long they click on things. The algorithm is also based on interest. Do they follow a similar accounts, or do they follow similar content? Do they follow careers advice on other platforms as well as timeline? When are you active? When are they active? And do those overlap? Which mostly means that your content is going to be shared to your loyal audience more. So the keynotes are going to be the ones who see your content the most. So because interaction seems to be the most important factor, what we try to do is set our goals on students visiting us more and creating a more tailored experience, which resulted ultimately in introducing links and asking students to visit the links in our profile, meaning that they would access our profile more. By creating savable content, which is an important metric for Instagram right now. So kind of creating either motivational content or infographics or something that they can relate to and reference to in the future. So that encourages them to save it. And also we've encouraged our students to share the content that we post, either the latest jobs or some of our videos with their friends, which leads me to the next slide about how social medias in general are moving away from likes. So then we as career services, because we're so focused on improving student experiences and kind of helping students in their journey, we're happy to grow, but we're happy to see metrics that link to student experience more than the overall number of followers or the overall number of likes. So for example, we've been using overall views on our stories to kind of determine content preference. Do student likes the latest jobs more? Do they like events? Do they like stories of what we as careers protection has been up to? We've been using sticker taps when we tag companies and the things that we post to determine attractiveness. Do people click more on NGOs? Do they click more on big tech companies? We've been using profile visits and advanced tracking data on Linktree to determine conversion and how many students we would have otherwise lost if we didn't have that Linktree in our profile bio. And we've been using story retention during quizzes to determine who is our loyal audience, who do we ultimately market to. going to the next slide, I'm going to be talking to you very briefly about how you can optimize for your own audience. So you have to consider, where are they active? Is Instagram really the best tool for you? Is your audience more active on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Twitter or maybe on TikTok? But then you also have to think about, is TikTok really the best platform to market to students? Because it's, mostly a comedy-based platform. Do students want to learn more about CVs there, or would it be better to kind of adapt the TikTok kind of content onto Instagram and create Instagram reels that kind of mimic that, but would be in a space where students are more open to listening to what you have to say? And then you have to think about when they are active. So if you're dealing with younger students, then obviously not during school hours. And if you're dealing with all the students, you have to embrace posting later in the day, because people's, lifestyles are now changing. People are active more during evenings or even at night. So I think you have to think about all of these aspects when you're thinking about when to post. And ultimately, what kind of content they like and what kind of content you are posting by using all of the data that you can. So see how many people save the post, see how many people go from the post to your profile, how many people you have from hashtags. You can use some of these guiding metrics to kind of figure out what your audience likes.
Great, thank you, Linka. Sorry, I'm just really quickly trying to reply to some of your comments in the chat box as we go through. But just before we finish, I think it's really important just to think about safeguarding and accessibility. Now, obviously, it's really worth taking into account the age of your audience. So for us, we have adults, we have over 18s. So we kind of don't have to necessarily think as much about that safeguarding under 18s side of it. But some of you definitely will. I think there's some information online that suggests that kind of Instagram is probably okay to engage with people above about 15. I think you can join it at a younger age, but probably about 15 is the right age to start engaging. And that's what I read online. But also think about who you're following. So we do follow student accounts, but we don't follow their personal accounts. So let me explain that a little bit further. So for example, we have student leaders who have kind of work accounts that they use to engage with students. So we would follow them. And we have student influencers. So for example, I can think of a student, she's really big in the law information student sphere. I don't really understand it because I'm not a law student, but she's a really big influencer in law. So we follow her, but we don't follow their personal accounts. So you've really got to keep that distance between what's a personal account and what's kind of a professional account, whether that's an influencer account or a kind of work account that we would use. So just be careful with that following of side of stuff. Obviously they can follow you, but you don't want to be following them. Also think about your safety. We know from Zoom bombing and everything that's happened in the last year about safety, but just be careful to protect yourself and your audience. So for us, we don't put any links to things, to actual events. We would always say, we always have our booking through a software that we use called Target Connect. So we would always say please book through Target Connect. We won't put the Zoom details or the Teams details of the event on there. We'd always send them somewhere else where they had to log in as a student account to access the actual link. So just be careful of that safety as well. And also, of course, accessibility is so important. Please remember to be inclusive. We really want the career sector to be a leader in accessibility. We want to be encouraging and supporting others to follow with our accessibility and safeguarding, because it's just so important. So you can find out more information online. Just remember the alt text, the accessibility kind of stuff. So it's just a little reminder for you. So finally, our top tips for you, once my screen will load. Okay.
Yes, you have to follow, you have to be consistent, you have to have a brand, you have to think about who you are, your identity, your tone of voice, your colours, and remember to keep those across social medias.
Great. My tip would be, from a non-design perspective, to definitely use design software. And we've found from feedback with students that it's better to have well-designed content, obviously. So utilize some of those design context software available like Canva or Adobe Spark. The design software is really good, really useful, really easy to use. So definitely use that. We found that students really value the kind of input on this. They want to know that more information, so definitely use that software.
If you're struggling to grow, try to think about setting some goals. But remember that goals can be creative as well. You can set goals to post more, to look into videos, to look into Instagram guides. They don't all have to be metric related.
And also use the scheduling software. That's really important for me, as obviously you're all really busy with your other careers work. And so make sure you use that scheduling software, get your head into that creative thinking zone.
And lastly, find inspiration, talk to others, follow others, and then share your best practices with as many people as you can.
Great. So thank you so much for coming today. And there's loads of questions in the chat box. I've been trying to keep going as we're going. But if you want to ask us questions, or we haven't got around to answering your questions because I'm conscious of time, feel free to follow us on Instagram and send us a direct message on there. Both of us will access that. Or equally, you can follow us on, you can connect with us on LinkedIn. I was going to call it Instagram then. Connect with us on LinkedIn and ask us questions as well. We'll also be around in this TechFest as well. But definitely, thank you so much for coming, and good luck with your Instagram pages. We really have found it a really useful way to engage with students. So we really hope you do too as well. So thank you so much for coming, and hope you have a nice week and a great Easter break as well. Yay, Easter, come on. Dan, have we got time to answer some of these questions?
The room will remain open, so you're welcome to stay in here for 5 or 10 minutes or so. It's a break now until the next seminar session.
Great. Maybe if you've got any questions that you want answering, if you could just type them again in the chat box, just so we know if you're still around, if you've gone for break, that'd be really useful. Thanks for all your nice comments as well. It's good to know. We've really found it useful thinking about this and using it as well. So if you do have any more questions, feel free just to put them in the chat box again, just so we can see who's still around in this session. But equally, if you want to go and have your coffee, definitely ready for a break. So any general guides to Instagram? Yeah, finding the various tools, it can be confusing. My biggest tip would be just Google what you want to know. So say you want to know about Instagram guides, just Google Instagram guides or how to use Instagram guides. And hopefully that will give you some more information. Alinka, I don't know if you have any more kind of...
I will say also play around with things. Either use your own personal account or just a lot of the Instagram guides, for example, or IGTV or Reels, it can all be saved as drafts. So if you play around with it, try as many features as you can, and then just not post it, then it might give you a bit more experience into how you can use that to adapt it for your own content and for your own audience.
Definitely. There is a thing that you can set up for stories called close friends. And we had that set up when we were first starting, so you can trial stuff. So only a certain amount of people who you set up can see your stories. So that's quite useful as well if you're trying to start off with stories. Alinka, I'm going to ask you this one because you're a lot better at this than me. How do you gather stats and assess your success?
So because we're working in careers, our success is not necessarily measured by numbers. It's good to see growth, but ultimately we're thinking if we help at least 10 students with this post, then it was worth it. So I would say I do look at all the stats, and I do sometimes report them. But I don't let that guide how we measure success. We usually thinking, or maybe just broadly. So we started posting the list of jobs posted on our internal job board, and we noticed a lot more engagement with that. So in a way, it was more important that we had more engagement in general, rather than that we achieved 10% more engagement. So I would say that. And accessing stats, if you go on any Instagram post that you posted and you have a business account, you will notice that you may be able to click on something that says View Insights, which will show you stats about your Instagram posts. Also on stories, if you go on the story and swipe up, you will also be able to see some stats about the story that you posted. And some of these include really interesting metrics, like how many people you got from hashtags, how many people clicked on the things that you posted, how many people kind of skipped to the next story or exited the story. So it's a lot of interesting things to consider. We noticed something, for example, one interesting stat, we noticed that a lot of people, whenever we post, people save the posts, even if it's something that maybe you would think, why are they saving this? So it's really interesting to see that people are saving events that we post, they're saving guides, they're saving especially the motivational posts, maybe to send to others or just to remind themselves that, you know, navigating this world of careers isn't as difficult as it looks like.
Absolutely. And I would also say, depending on what your kind of brand and tone is not just about your stats. Just because a student doesn't like something, it doesn't mean that they haven't read it. Just because they haven't liked or commented or clicked on the post doesn't mean that it's still not kind of whirling around in their head. So I think we do obviously look at stats and gather all that information, but also I think sometimes you've kind of got to let go of that a little bit. If your branding is kind of similar to ours in that you kind of try to be encouraging and developing and all that kind of stuff. Obviously we want stats and we want that information, but just be wary of being really stat focused, because then your content is going to be relevant to that as opposed to relevant what you're actually wanting to share and what your actual branding is as well. Which is good. Great. Any more questions? It's been really useful. If there's no more questions, thank you so much for attending. It's been really great to spend 40 minutes with you, 45 minutes. Like I said, if you want to engage with us further, you can like us on Instagram and connect with us that way, or just connect with us on LinkedIn. We've both got LinkedIn accounts that you can search for us as well, which is great. Hope you have a nice rest of the
all
week.
for being really nice and encouraging.
We will hang around for a little bit longer until the last person's left.
Yes.
So we will be here. I can see the number going down. Stop sharing.
And it's the end.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. As someone who's presenting for the first time, this has been really nice and encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes me think that I want to maybe do more of these. I like to share some of my marketing knowledge. I paid a lot of money for a degree, so it's really nice to be able to share some of this information and some of this knowledge with other people. Definitely.
It's been really good to think about it from like a careers perspective and a marketing perspective. It's been really good. So thanks, everyone. There's still 7 people around.